want to make a little shift. I want you guys to take a look at this ad. Okay, here it is. Watch the ad. We're going to play a little bit of the ad.
You've heard about bulls in a china shop? Well, that's what Greg Abbott's been doing to the people of the state of Texas. Tearing up everything we've built, kissing up to bullies and billionaires who are taking every last dime out of our pockets. Well, I don't give up that easy, on farms or people. Weather, disease, inflation, and tariffs can make or break you. And as a young man, I was closer to broke than made. Like a lot of Texans, I needed a second job. For over 20 years, I fought fires, then drove 100 miles back home to work the cows. I've met people who've lost everything, treasured possessions, homes, even their loved ones. I was honored to help them in their darkest hour, and I'm prepared to do it again for the people of Texas.
And joining me now is the gentleman that you just saw. He's running for governor of Texas against Greg Abbott. His name is Bobby Cole. Bobby Cole, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, how are you, Joy?
I'm doing wonderfully, thank you. That video is actually about 2 minutes long. I played about 57 seconds of it. It's fascinating because you're telling the story of being a very regular guy, a farmer, a firefighter. What makes you want to go from that to being the governor of the state of Texas?
Well, the easiest answer is, I'm a husband. I'm also a father and a grandfather. And I'm really worried that, the country you and I grew up in, the state I grew up in, it's sort of a legacy we're going to pass down to them. And I'm worried that that's actually going to happen. So that's what inspired me to run.
And so we know that Texas is one of those sort of strange sort of states. It's a majority minority state, similar to California. The demographics are a little bit different, but similar. A very large Latino population, the largest African-American population in the entire country, but a very low turnout rate among both of those two groups. Black and brown Texans vote at very abysmally low rates. And for that reason, Republicans pretty much win every seat. They win up and down the ballot, from mayor's races up to the statewide races. It's very hard for Democrats to win. How would you change that?
Well, what you've got to do is, Republicans have had a stranglehold on this state for 30 years. And it's really just sort of disheartened and really turned down Democrats in this state, feeling that their voices matter. And predominantly it's been done through gerrymandering. And, it's only getting worse, as you may know. But the first thing you got to do is, one of my main campaign planks is that, you've got to show a different kind of leadership than what we've got now. And you don't think so, but leadership from the top matters so much, far as common decency and common good, and work, advocating for the working men and women of the state. And I believe once you show that, more and more people will get involved, especially if you elect a Democratic governor. I think the Democrats will come out of the woodwork and feel like they're empowered to, make sure they're represented and get out and vote and start taking their own destiny and their state back. And I think it starts from the top, setting a tone, and that we're for liberties, we're for freedoms, and we're for justice, and we're for working men and women of the state getting a fair shot, instead of the wealthy and the powerful, because they're doing great and we're not.
We saw Beto O'Rourke run a campaign that was similar to that. I mean, he went up, to every, district in the country. He talked like a regular person. He's a normal sounding guy, other than on guns, which he got hammered on because he is for some restrictions on firearms. He came very close to beating Ted Cruz, and polls show that most Texans don't even like Ted Cruz. They still put him back in. Your governor, polls show he's very unpopular. Your attorney general, had criminal charges against him, was impeached by his own party. It seems to me that these very unpopular Republicans stay in power. And I wonder if, in your view, is it all guns? Are Texans holding their noses and voting for people they can't even stand, all because of guns?
Well, I hate to keep going back to the same thing, but what's happening in Texas, I don't even think it's really about guns. There's a lot of common sense gun laws that gun owners and non-gun owners and Democrats and Republicans support, but yet it never gets moved up the chain, and it all comes back to this gerrymandering, because most of these officials are elected in the primary process, which really only promotes extremism. And on top of that, all of this, all these Republicans' campaign coffers are stuffed by billionaires with millions of dollars. And what these Republicans in this state have become used to is that they're unaccountable and they don't have to perform for the people of the state of Texas through gerrymandering and these campaign contributions that are really put in there as a form of legal bribery, and it really holds back progress here
Yeah.
in Texas.
Yeah, you guys, you have about a couple of billionaires that essentially control your state, right? That they put all, as you said, they put a lot of money into Greg Abbott's pockets and the other Democrats, the other Republicans' pockets, and they also have some pretty extreme right wing religious views, etc. Do you get a sense when you're going around the state talking to people that people are aware that they're being run by these billionaires? Because billionaires are not exactly popular right now. Is that something that people are aware of?
I think more and more they're becoming aware of the situation and what the state has been, I guess, uh, um, I guess, what the state's been sort of, I guess, given to. And I think here's what I believe is that the Republicans are very good at bully politics and intimidating people. But in the end, it's going to come home to roost. The horrible policies they put on working men and women of the state, women's rights, immigrants, not being treated decent, shortchanging our schools, not respecting working men and women of the state who build the state and drive its economy. Uh, it's these horrible policies, and it comes all the way down from Washington by Donald Trump. And Greg Abbott doesn't do anything to stand up for the people of the state. And we're told that most of the people in the state that have paid in earned benefits when they need them or have earned them in their retirement and their old age, that they're waste, fraud, and abuse. And this is really a sinister lie told from the top. And here's what I believe. Every time Republicans have total control, they usually screw it up very badly. And I think between all these things I've just mentioned, there's going to be a lot of people that voted Republican, independents, and maybe not extreme Republicans, that are going to start realizing that the policies that's been forced upon this state are short-sighted and not doing anything for them. And they're going to be open to a different message delivered from a little different perspective than what they've had before. And I think they're going to be open to it and have an appetite for it.
What do you make of these Democrats that have left the state and gone to Illinois and New York, et cetera, to deny a quorum for this gerrymandering?
I think it's great. And I think it's about time the Democratic Party take off the gloves and start throwing some haymakers. And I would like the entire Democratic Party nationally to take the opportunity not to sit and wait how this quorum break turns out for Texas, but to go ahead in California, Illinois, and New York, follow through and go ahead and start securing more Democratic seats in those states, because I believe it's an existential threat if Republicans maintain control of Congress. We're gonna be looking at a Trump third term, and autocracy will be upon us. And so this is not the time for the meek and mild. You better come to the fight, and you better be ready for a 15 rounder.
Yeah, for
And we need people that are prepared to do what it takes. Not necessarily what is fair, but what it takes.
One thing I have to say about Texas Democrats is that y'all are built different. I mean, Jasmine Crockett, different. You know what I mean? Joaquin Castro, James Tallarico, who I've seen out here really speaking about religion and faith in a way that you don't really hear Democrats talk about. And Texas Democrats definitely are, I think, trying to model for Democrats in the rest of the country a different way of behaving. And you're different. I thought your video was interesting. Give a grade to the party nationally. What do you think is the Democratic Party is doing wrong that they can't seem to resonate? What can Texas Democrats teach them?
Well, I think we get too involved in the culture war, and fall into that trap. I mean, we need to just speak to basic decency and everybody's right to be seen, and not devolve into any more arguments on, how many trans athletes there are in the state. There's like 4 or 5. That's not an issue we need to be arguing about. We just need to make sure that everybody's rights are protected and nobody's being denied, okay, or
Well, are
harassed.
Democrats making that argument? Because it seems to me that Republicans keep making it. Democrats don't seem to
No, I
answer it
don't
at
think they're
all.
making the argument,
Yeah.
because what's important is that it's tabletop issues. It's about getting back to what helps people, keep a roof over their head, food on the table, provide a future for their kids, and then be able to, in their old age, once they spend their entire life, building an economy, and their hips are broke down, their knees ache, and they can't sleep at night because they ache so bad, and their hands are, riddled with arthritis, that they can retire with some dignity. And that's what this state should be about. That's what our government should be about, is like I said, advocating for the working poor and the middle class. Because if we build that, as Biden used to say, from the middle out, we'll have shoulders big enough. The billionaires and the big corporations are still going to do just fine. Okay, they've been doing fine with our current political setup. But there's a different way to do it, and they're going to be taken care of either way. They're going to make their money, but
Yeah.
we need to restructure who we prioritize in this state and this country, and Democrats can do that. We've always been a working man's party. We just hadn't been great about really advocating for the working man.
Yeah.
And yes, and
Well,
we've got to start being fighters and telling everybody what we do for them, and that's really our job.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Democrats talk very little about living wages, very little about, raising wages, very little about things that, people actually are trying to care about. One last question for you, Bobby Cole. And this, given the fact that we did see this deadly flood that took place in Texas, and then we found out that some of those local officials turned down $10 million in what would have been aid to try to get a weather warning system there because the money came from Biden. They just didn't want that Biden money, and people are dead as a result. You've seen a lot of neglect in the state of Texas, whether it's because, after gun violence, whether it's your grid that doesn't seem to work. If you're the governor of Texas, what's your first 100 days look like? What are the things that you would do first if you were elected to be the governor of Texas, following Ann Richards as just the next Democratic governor? The great Ann Richards.
Yes, the great. First thing you got to do is realize when you go in there, you don't have all the answers, and you got to surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable and understand the issues that are at hand. And you've got to gather those people together, because none of us is as smart as all of us. And you've got to have assessments on, warning systems, our electrical grid, just where's our state of infrastructure within the state, where's it at? And then the first 100 days, you've got to put all that together and start forming a plan, so that you don't misstep and you immediately go to doing what the state needs, instead of a lot of performative political annex. antics. And another thing you need to get a hold of is, how are you going to secure the border, and how are you going to document immigration? Because if you think this state can thrive and succeed without immigration, you're lying to yourself, and you're believing the lie. Immigration is vitally important to Texas. It's vitally important to the United States, and Texas can be a leader in figuring out how we do that and do it for the benefit of all. And that's what I'd try to, that's the first thing you got to do, is try to attack that in the first 100 days. And then veto anything that doesn't help working men and women of the state and violates freedoms and rights. Veto all that for sure. Put an end to all that silliness.
You know what I like about you, Bobby Cole? You're a regular guy. And I feel like we need to promote the
be.
regular guy politician. I think that it's a refreshing thing to have somebody that's not a slick politician that's trying to get in office, because I think that is the challenge. I think you've hit on it, is that regular people don't feel seen and heard by politics. They don't feel represented. They think that it's a game that has nothing to do with them, which is probably why a lot of people don't vote. Bobby Cole, good luck. The primary, I want to make sure I get it right. It's March 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
The primary is March 3rd. The race, the actual general election is next November. But these elections are, as you said earlier, are decided in the primary. So it's too late. When you get to the general election, then you're going to complain that it's a lesser of two evils situation.
Yep.
So the thing you want to do is pick your person in the primary so that when the general election comes, you've got who you want. Bobby Cole, good luck to you. You're welcome to come back anytime. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Joey. Pleasure being here.
Thank you very much. All right, y'all, that's Bobby Cole. You can find his website online. We'll put it in the beneath this show here. We'll put it in the notes so that you can find his website. He didn't give his website. That's how you know he's not a slick politician, because he did not give his website. Thank you all for tuning in. I think it's important to just hear from these candidates. I want to let you all know that there are probably other people that are going to jump in. We've heard James Tallarico might jump in. There's lots of rumors that Beto O'Rourke's going to run, that Joaquin Castro might jump in. Anybody who's running for these offices, please come through, because we want to hear what you would do in office, what your purpose is, what you're thinking in terms of what your state and how your state can be better. Elect better candidates if you want a better country. That's the bottom line. We get the country that we vote for. And I think Sherilyn Ifill made a really important point. I want to reiterate two important points before we go. Point number one, there's a lot more power in these offices below the presidency than you think. These governors have a lot of power. The only person that could call a special session in the state of Texas to try to hand Donald Trump his 5 seats that he wants is the governor. The only people who can give Donald Trump his 5 seats, because he can't do it himself. He can't just take 5 seats in the House. He's not all powerful. It's state senators and state representatives. So it kind of matters who you vote for in these state rep and state Senate seats. You may not think about them a lot, but they're also where you get a lot of your members of Congress. Jasmine Crockett started as a member of the state House and state Senate. So the bottom line is, who you're electing in these state smaller offices actually can determine whether Donald Trump can continue to run roughshod over a state like Texas. It's that state senator and state rep. And when you get to the U.S. rep, the House of Representatives, that's where the checkbook is. If you want to take Donald Trump's allowance away so that he can no longer gut and destroy the government and implement Project 2025, yeah, he can fire all the bureaucrats, but if he doesn't have any money to do it, remember, ICE, before the budget was passed, the big ugly bill, was running out of money. They were actually out of cash. They got the cash back because of the House of Representatives being obedient to Trump. So elect less obedient people, and maybe we can start to slow Trump down so that we don't wind up with a Trump 2028 or Trump forever, because they're willing to let him destroy the country and enrich himself and do what he wants because they want something. I'm going to leave you with that thought. What is it that they want, and what do they think they're getting out of all this? Thank y'all for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Share this channel. Make sure that everybody subscribes to the YouTube channel. 70% of people are lurking, watching these shows and not subscribing. Why would you do that? So make sure that you like, subscribe, and throw some comments in. Thank you all for joining the Joy Reid Show. See you on the next one, and goodbye for now.